Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Is it still okay to say Happy New Year? My name is Toby Anyade, and thank you for joining us, everyone. I'm just going to be all up in your faces for a few minutes. Hopefully, it doesn't exceed 1 hour for a virtual book launch of an amazing book by Seyi Amao titled Bolatito. Hi, everybody. Hi, honey. Hi, STM360. Hello, everybody. Hi. Book launch. I'm just trying to pin what we're doing. Hi, the Fairy Tale Kitchen. Hi, love from Sheila. Thank you for joining. Hi, Duchess. Good to have you here. Happy New Year, guys. I hope everyone is keeping up with their reading goals for the year. Yeah, I can see her too. I'm trying to connect.
Hi.
Hey, you! Just look at you. Look at
How are
this.
you? Okay,
Very well, thank you. Yeah, so good to have you here. You're looking amazing. You look so beautiful. And congratulations on your
Thank
book.
you.
How
Thank
does it
you.
feel? Finally, it's
I
here.
don't know. Yeah, I'm lost for words, to be honest. Like, I keep
Yeah.
thinking that, oh, is this me? I mean, can you hear me?
Yeah, of course I can
Wondering
hear
if
you
you can hear
loud
me.
and clear.
Okay, cool.
Guys, let's know if you can hear us, probably with a like or just put up a comment so we are sure that you're listening to us. It's gonna be an exciting time, trust me. Oh, it's just gonna be chill, have
You're
some
so
fun.
sweet. Tones of your voice makes them want to read the book. Thank you.
You're welcome. I actually brought a bottle of wine with me and my glass. I'm gonna be popping some along the line.
Gosh,
So
why?
let's have
Why
fun in
nice?
celebration. It's a book launch for Christ's sake. So thank you for the love, guys. So I was asking how it feels to see that your book is finally here and today is the official launch. What does it feel like?
I mean, it's a dream come true. So it's almost like I find myself at random times during the day. I just start dancing because it's like,
Oh,
because yay!
I can't relate. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't even know.
Yeah.
You could probably tell. I'll try not to cry because I'm like, Shay, control yourself. But
Yeah, quite
it feels
understandable.
amazing. It's great to see something that you worked hard on.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's great to see something that you worked hard on come to fruition, and I just can't wait for people to read the story because I mean it's been in my head for years. So yeah.
Wow, exciting. Your joy is so palpable, and thank you so much for sharing with every one of us that is here right now. Before you joined, I was telling everybody as a way of introduction of just trying to get them familiar with the book. I was telling them that if they've been following Ruby Knight's account for a while, they will notice that, oh, there was this book that we posted a trailer. The trailer looked like one of those Netflix movies,
I
and
know.
it got everybody talking in the comment section. The trailer was so good. And
Thank you.
so the first thing I had to say was like, oh, the book with the thriller, if you've been following us, you would have seen it. And it did so well on our platform. Like we got over 10,000 views and a lot of
Yeah, I was like,
comments and
wow.
likes too. So the first thing I'm going to be asking you, what even inspired the idea of that thriller in the first place? Because it's very rare in this part of the world for you to see authors want to introduce their books with a thriller. So why did you decide to go that route?
Well, funny enough, it was my friend, and I know you had her book on. You've had a book on. So the book she's talking about is Bola Tito.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bolatito, yes.
yeah. So
It's actually
my friend
there.
Lola did. We kind of worked on a book project together. So she was
Nice.
like, "Oh, she wants to do something to promote her book and a book trailer," and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's true." And I remember like a couple of years ago, I saw a book trailer that Zendaya was in. This was like during her young Disney days, and
Wow.
till this date, I go and watch it, and I am like, they need to make it a movie because I've not read the book, but I definitely, and I was like, you know what, why not? That I feel like showing the story in a way that is not really telling too much will get people to be interested in it. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go all out, get production company to help me work out something, and it came out, and the reviews and just feedback has been amazing.
Yeah, it's actually a very beautiful one, and it's when you go the book thriller route. Sorry, I'm dwelling on this so much
No, it's
because
fine.
I find it very fascinating. If you ask me, it's either a miss or it. That's the truth. Because
True.
it's either of two things. There are very few production companies here in Nigeria that can sort of like visualize what you're trying to do, and it's either they try to use some people's people who do not actually depict the culture
The
or do
story.
not sell the story and all of that. And so it was so good to see Black people, even though at least there was some element of foreignness and
Foreign
everything
people
to it.
there.
But yeah, it still came out great if you ask me. And I wanted to also confirm if probably your background in branding and brand management also had a role to
Yes,
play
because
in this.
I actually have it's a production of an upcoming animation company called Summer's Voice, because I do
Okay.
voiceovers. So
Oh,
I
nice.
work with a lot of talents. I work with a lot of different talents, and so just from that experience, I wrote the script, and I just reached out to a couple of people. Okay, this is what I want to achieve. And that's how we created it. So
It was
everything came
actually,
into that.
yeah. It was nicely executed, I must say again. Someone is asking in the Q&A if what the price of the book is. But Latito is currently for 4,500 naira, but from tomorrow it's going to be 5K. So you better go on our website or slide into our DM right away to place your order. Yes. So we're just going to get right into it. Having talked about the thriller, I wanted to know what actually inspired the book. Yes.
Okay. So to be honest, I'll say a great deal of Bolatito was inspired, or the story itself was inspired by a situation I was going through, or to an extent I'm still going through, in the sense that once in my life I felt, and I think all of us have been at a place where you just feel you feel defeated, in the sense of your life's not going the way you planned, and speaking specifically to me, I mean, thank God this year is going to be my 5th year in marriage, so we're celebrating that in April. And one of the things that you experience when you get married, people just expect you, where are the babies, you watch your wedding video, people are like, I wish triplets on you, and all that sort of things. And and then for me, it's like I get married, and then I get diagnosed with a condition called polycystic ovarian syndrome. So, and for people that are familiar with it, it's the best way to describe it. It's almost like sickle cell, in a way that it's a hormonal disorder, and basically it just messes up with your hormones. It makes it hard to conceive. You gain weight. So it's a very emotional thing. So when I was going through what I was going through, I mean, there's one thing being diagnosed with PCOS, but then I was now also having excessive bleeding. So I would go 6 months bleeding nonstop, wearing pads, getting stained in public. So it was just a place that I felt really low about. It was, and just the health, you can find out more about PCOS, from PCOS conference. Yeah, so it was all that just led me into the story of the woman with the issue of blood. And the more I kind of read that story, and I was like, okay, I started, so it was from Bible study and journaling that I thought about, the concept of this woman, in that, back in the days, going through something like that. Even though they call her the issue of blood woman, technically it's a story about infertility, because I can imagine she's been to doctors, she's, spent all her money. And if you meet anyone dealing with anything related to fertility or just gynecological issues, it's an expensive route. So I could understand that, and the more I started thinking about it, she bled for 12 years, then I realized that the girl so I said, what are the odds that when Jesus was going to heal a girl who was 12 years old, that this woman with a blood issue intercepted him on his way? I was like, And I started thinking, technically, if she was pregnant, 12 years ago, she would have a child that, 12 years old and all. Just so the more I kind of played with that idea, is her husband even still in the picture? Is, what is society, saying? What does it even mean for her to be? Because clearly her move to get, and I mean, if you're a non-Christian, it's a book that you can read regardless of your religion. But for me, that was what heavily inspired, that desperation of the woman, that she had gotten to a point that she needed something to change. So I started playing with that idea, and I thought, okay, what if they met her and the little girl? What would that be like? What does healing look like? So that was what, started the journey of Bola Tito.
Exciting. I'm going to come in there, and I was going through the book, and I was wondering, why did you choose to go the fiction route? Like, I mean, if you wanted to share a story about your journey through PCOS, and I know quite a number of people can identify with that, why didn't you decide to probably do like a non-fiction or a memoir and all that? Why did you decide to go fictional?
I like stories. I find stories they're memorable. You remember things you watch. Like if you think about, like now, if you go back and watch Lion King, and you look at the themes that are being taught, then you realize you picked a lot of things about, okay, what does it mean to be a leader? Your pride, your country. So I love the way stories can go, because you are not limited to the hard facts. I could just come and say, oh, PCO. Because before this, I was already working on it, and it was the lockdown that made me like, okay, let's hammer down and see how we can. But then you can talk about it and people can be like, oh, okay, yeah, I understand. But sometimes you need to be able to show people what a situation is for them to actually feel your heartbeat. Because by the time you get invested in a story of a person, you love what they love, you laugh when they laugh, they cry when they cry.
You connect even more with it.
I'm a messenger of what you just read about. So that was basically what I was hoping to achieve when I wrote this.
And trust me, I think you did justice to it. I've read through Bola Tito, by the way, guys. Yes. It's actually everything and more. Like, it's everything you saw in the trailer and so much more. It's so relatable, and the characters in that book would linger and stay with you for quite some time. And that leads me to the question around the characterization of the book. So I know there's Ifunanya, which is a name I kind of like, and then there's also there's also Bola Tito. Bola Tito is probably like the main character, because the book is of course named after her. And so of all those many characters, aside from these two people, there are so many other names that I'm not going to mention. Spoiler alert, no. So
no, I might just mention a few. Yeah.
So amongst all of the many characters in the book, which amongst them is your favorite? And that's like the first part of the question. The second part is, which was the most difficult to write about? Which of them was so difficult for you to develop, to say so much and write about? Probably because they were deeply personal, or you're probably struggling to find the words to depict what it was like to be them, basically.
Okay, I don't know if I can answer that second one well, because I don't want to give away too much. But okay, so when I know a lot of people would watch a trailer and be like, okay, it's about this big lady and little lady Ifunanya, who is the little girl, and Bola Tito, who is the main character. But I actually love the men in the story, and that is what you get to experience, which is Ifunanya's dad, Azuka, and his best friend. So I love, their dynamics and relationship. Obviously, Bola Tito has a special place in my heart, because I can relate with a lot of things. And even apart from me, because my story is just one aspect of, that I drew from. I've connected to over like maybe 2,000 women that have been diagnosed with PCOS. So, and different people, I'm realizing that different people have, like, let's just say their families dynamic is a bit different. I can come out here and say, oh, I have PCOS, but not everyone can come out and be bold to talk about it. So so yes, definitely Bola Tito, but then I would say Ifunaya's dad. I love his strength of character. His name's Azuka, so you
Yeah.
know him. I
Yeah.
love everything about him, his character and his friendship, really, with his best friend. And yeah, so for me, the key things about them is more or less the relationships. It's hard to, because there are times that I would actually put down the book and I'll cry, because when I think about setting and when I say that, when I went through this season of bleeding, and to be honest, I still get long periods. I've just not gotten oh, is it that, okay, so it hasn't stopped fully, but then I've learned, I would say I've grown to a point where it doesn't bother me as much when, you know, my body is just like, what's going on now. Through this journey, I've been able to be reflective. Okay, what did I eat? What did I do? How can I be better? And then knowing that there are other people kind of on the same path with me, you know, it makes it a lot easier. So I'll say in terms of writing Bola Tito's struggles, those were the parts that, you know, they got to me, because, you know, I could not only feel my pain, I could also feel the pain of other women that are in this very real situation. So yeah.
Yeah. Um, Thank you for that. I'm going to mention at this point that everyone who has taken time to join us should please feel free to drop their questions either in the comments or the Q&A session. At one point or the other in the course of this conversation, I'll be popping in there to see some of the questions that we have, and I'm sure that she will be so happy to respond to them.
Yes.
Let's make this as interactive and as fun as possible, because I mean it's a book launch.
I know.
If not for COVID, right? We'll probably be in a very glamorous venue right
Very
now,
glamorous.
having some, you know, having so much fun and you know, sharing all the excitement. But I can see at least from your own background, it's poppy and it's beautiful and glamorous all the same. So we just make do with what we have. Your initial response is going to give rise to my next question, which is, you mentioned how Azuka tends to be like your favorite character, like you thoroughly enjoyed writing about him.
Yes.
I mean, he's a guy, he's a
Yeah.
man, and I know quite a number of people struggle with TTC, PCOS, and a couple of other issues around fertility like that. What role do you think the male gender has to play in the midst of this? In terms of do you think they can play some role of support? Do you think there's any measure of comfort that, you know, a man, do men even find it easy to relate to some of the struggle? And do they, over from your own experience, do you think like men have tend to be supportive and be kind to some of the struggles, basically?
So one of the things I've learned, God willing, for men that are understanding, because, you know, there are different types of men out there, no shade to men, but for men that are understanding, once you are able to bring them in and really explain to them, because for me, the initial stages, like, I would say I wasn't necessarily bothered about PCOS, because the funny thing is I started seeing symptoms when I was 18, and one of them is your period becomes irregular. But I mean, who likes period anyway? So
no.
you're just like, freedom. So, you know, so there were signs, but then I didn't know, and even then doctors too don't define this, but it's like, okay, you're not in this. And you know, I remember one of the very, very, very low days that I felt, and it's now in the book. My husband didn't even know. I wrote down what he said to me. I was like, oh, you know, would you have married me if you knew I was broken? And he's like, I married you because, you know, God said, you know, you're the one. And if he knows you're broken, then he knows how to unbreak you. So, you know, that kind of thing. And him saying that, he didn't know how much strength that gave me, because I felt like, you know, most people will be like, I didn't sign up for this, you know, this is not, you know, I thought I'd have kids by now. I mean, my husband's quite different in terms of, you know, some things he says, like sometimes like, you know, I married you for you. If I never had, you know, kids, I'd be like, slow your roll, me on children, you know. But it's comforting to know that, you know, and I wouldn't say that obviously he hasn't had times when he's like, you know, but then one of the things that has been a blessing is that understanding that it's about both of you. I mean, one of the books we read before we got married was called by John Piper, This Momentary Marriage. And the book starts in a very interesting way where it describes a married couple. Oh, they just got married. They went on a mission trip to like somewhere in Africa, and they just got married. And I think a year into their marriage or something, I think they had a baby, and they were killed by the people that were ministering to one of the.
Wow.
And I was just like, wow, like I don't know if saying damn is good, but yeah, like wow, like that is intense. Like, so it's almost like, so what was the purpose of that? And I mean, the whole story or crux about the book is like, yes, marriage is great, children are great, but ultimately there is a purpose that you are meant to fulfill together. And as long as both of you are working, and for me, it has a lot to do with God. So as long as you're working towards your God-given purpose and you have that understanding, it's fine. So when it comes to fertility, men shouldn't take the back seat because men also have fertility issues. Unfortunately, most people just talk about the women, but then it's a combination of both. Like one of the ladies that joined our support group, I think when she started the journey, her husband had like a weak sperm count, and while she had a blocked tube, and I think as of last year, she shared a testimony that her blocked tube wasn't blocked anymore and everything. And what were the changes they did? You know, she changed her meals, she started exercising, you know, I pray for them, you know, that kind of thing. But then she made lifestyle changes. Her husband also made the life. So they were doing it together, and they've seen that, you know, that effect. And I know a number of other people have given birth. So when you partner with your spouse, making her know that, you know, she's not alone in this whole thing. And even if you never have children, you know, it takes a lot of grace. And that's why I said, you know, it takes time for men to get to that point to understand. So for me, I wouldn't say that the kids part was a big thing. The thing that bothered my husband the most about PCOS is the fact that if it's not managed, it can lead to heart problems, liver failure, you know, all those other diabetes. So for him, it's like, so initially he didn't understand my weight gain because he felt, oh, you were always like a size 10. And I was like, no, like, I don't understand where, I mean, most people see me now and they're like, oh no, you're fine. But I was like, let me show you my old picture. Like, oh, so you actually gained weight. I'm like, yes. But so he met me at that point. But one of the things I've seen is that, I mean, he's loved me at every point, but health-wise, you'd always be like, oh, you need to do this. But once I started and he started seeing more women talking about it, because he's a private person, he doesn't, even to the fact that I now boldly speak about it. Initially, he was like, I'm not sure if, you know, I want everyone to know. But then once he saw that so many people were reaching out, like I would have women call me and cry, and me, I'll pray. I mean, sometimes I've had some people say, I want a child, and I'm like, I don't have a child yet, but I will have a child, and you will have a child. So in those moments, I'll just say, can I pray with you? And I'll just encourage them and everything. And I think the more he started seeing that, the more he started getting more interested or invested into reading about it. Like sometimes he's even telling me, oh, I read this is what. So it goes a long way when your spouse understands that it's not a you problem, it's a we situation. And I won't even call it a problem because, yes, it sounds terrible that you have a condition that can affect you, your way to produce and everything like that. But then what are the opportunities that are birthed from that? So it's like finding that silver lining. Yes.
Yeah, exciting. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable. I'm going to be taking a comment from a few people. Okay. I can see Children's Language Center say, what courage you display. Thank you for being vulnerable yet helpful to others. That is such a beautiful thing. Thank you so much for saying that. And then Wanyen Gitari is saying that if there is a thriller, does that mean there will be a short clips or a short movie at some point or the other?
Amen. Amen. I mean, I'm putting it all out there and trusting that, if you know any Netflix official.
Who knows? Netflix might just stumble on it and feel like it's a story worth producing and making into a short length movie or feature or something like that. Then a lot of people in the comments are also eager to know what your writing process is like how long did it take you to write the book? I also have that question here anyway, so there's no point just delaying. Yeah, about two people, real
Oh,
touch
action about that.
choice. Then the essence of Tony to also want to know what your writing process is like and how long it actually took you to write the book. Yeah.
So technically, I had this story, or I wrote like the main, in your first scribble. So I
Yeah,
did the first
the draft.
scribble
Yeah.
in 2000 and no, was it 18? Yes, so
Mm,
2018 I had it down, and it was just like there that I was going to work on. But I started writing chapter by chapter from April last year. And trust me, it takes a village. Like once I started working with this publishing team, they they have their own set of editors and writers. So whatever I write, they will check it. So I mean, book spiders, they're like I call them my indie publishers.
yeah.
But then
Shout out to
they're
book
Nigerian, but they are
spiders.
great.
I
Shout
said
out to
shout out
book
to
spiders.
book.
They are great.
Yeah.
They're great. So they really coached me through this process. I can come here and say I'm a fantastic writer. No, I'm not.
Mm,
I'm a storyteller. They coached me through the process. So so one of the things what we started with was chapterization. So I wrote the synopsis, then wrote the characters, then each chapter had a summary, so we knew where the story was going from the beginning to the end. And then obviously my husband worked with me in the process. So whatever I write, I'll bounce it off him, get his feedback and everything like that. I don't think, in fact, I like things to be complete. So I don't think I showed. Okay, so I showed most of my friends, like maybe 6 of them, the first chapter when I was done. Because once
okay.
I was done with the chapterization and the synopsis, and I was happy with the direction of the story. And trust me, even as I was going, I still changed. I changed a number of things.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I was happy with the direction of the story. I'm usually the person. So I'm the kind of person that when I start a story, like my next story, for example, I already know the ending. So I don't work to that end unless something changes, and I'm like, but usually the ending still stays the same. So I knew what kind of end I wanted the book to have, and I was like, okay, let's build from there. So once I was done with chapter 1, which took about that it didn't take time. It took it took time because it's first time. It took about 3 weeks. Done with that. I shared it with a couple of friends, and they loved it. They were like, "Oh, this is good. This is So that gave me encouragement to keep going. I'll spam my family group chat and say, "Oh, read my first." Yeah.
Yeah.
So I spam them, and basically it's through the lockdown because I wasn't done until October. Yeah, about October in terms of the first draft, and
Well, yeah.
and that was October, September, October, and that's when I sent the full, because after I sent the first chapter, Mary, who's at the call, she's awesome illustrator. She's the one that worked on my
Oh.
book illustration. She was like, sis, so when are you sending the other ones? Like, what's going on? I said, don't worry. So I didn't send it until I was done with like the rest of the chapters, and I could get a good feedback on everything. So yeah, so basically step by step. I know sometimes writing can feel like very daunting when you're starting on your own. So if you can find, like, if you work with book spiders, they're really good. They would actually help you through that process in terms of, so whatever I thought, they'll say write down whatever it is, just write it down. That's why editing is there. They would give you pointers and everything. So, and for me, I'm a first time writer, so I don't expect to be like, I don't know, Cindy Sheldon,
I understand.
as it goes. So yeah, so basically that was it. Just letting the story tell itself and just going with the process. So yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Like, I mean, I want to believe that there are quite a number of people who have joined us and probably have a story to tell at one point or the other, and they are wondering how your experience can, help them when it's
So
time
this
for
is
them
even
to do
why I
theirs. Yeah.
started something. So I started an initiative. It's always been in my heart to do. So I'd say that is also another reason why I also really went after the writing thing. Is I
Mm.
really want, I'm really passionate about seeing the African story. Like the headpiece I'm wearing is mine. I make it from
Oh,
Ashoke.
nice.
So
Wow.
I would make sure I would find something that I can use that is local to Nigeria and publicize it. So for me, when it comes to telling African stories, about that. And I wanted a platform where I could even get more women, published. And I know there are men there. We can encourage the brothers, but for now,
Yeah. Yeah.
I skew towards women. So so I started something called Publisher, where
Publisher,
I
yeah,
get
for
different
yeah.
people. Yeah, so I get different women that have been published to share their stories, and and some of them have been great. Damia Detu, very lovely lady,
Both home,
met her off
yeah.
Instagram, and she
Yeah.
shared who printed her book for her, which he printed my packaging. So I was like, wow, thank you. That's actually, so it's that community of people. So when you have a community, almost like a writer's book club,
Yeah.
and me and Ololade, who wrote Brimstone and
Brimstone
Rainbow.
and rainbows.
Sorry,
Sorry.
so
No,
much
it's fine.
excitement. So
It's
me
okay.
and her, we were each other's. God.
Yeah, take your
Okay.
time. Okay, so let me just cut
Yeah,
the
so we're
chase.
each
I
other's
think for
support.
anyone who is probably interested in hearing more about Seyi's writing process, have questions around publishing. I can see same person asking questions around whether to go the self-publishing route or publishing, traditional publishing. If you have any of those questions, please feel free to follow her on our Instagram page.
Yeah.
I think the publisher forum, which you started, that you were
Yeah.
just talking about, actually runs from time to time a few Insta live sessions. Or I don't know if it happens on Zoom anyways, where you try to like teach or help upcoming authors
Yeah, we're
with
getting
some
there.
tips and hacks and all of that. Yeah, so I'm sure she would definitely be happy to share.
Yeah, so you can reach
Um,
out to me privately,
yeah,
and we
yeah.
can discuss. Yeah.
Um, I'm going to be asking another question which draws largely around the plot of the book. I know there
Okay.
was this part that had to do with Sambisa Forest. In my
Mm.
mind, I'm like, where did that come from? I thought it was quite a creative infusion, right? It's kind of like relatable, it's more contemporary and all of that. And good thing you just mentioned that the idea of the story started coming to mind in 2018, because I wanted to, if you had said maybe like 1990 something, I would have questioned you and all that. Because I mean, there was an element of it that talked about one of the characters being at the war front in Sambisa Forest, and then an element of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign and issue also played a role in your book. So
Mhm.
why did you decide to infuse all of those? Are those elements of your personal reflection about some of these national issues and challenges
Mhm.
we're facing? Yeah.
So war part, I would say yes, because I mean, definitely it was something that I would say it was one of the, maybe not the first, but at least in my lifetime, one of the big campaigns that came out of Nigeria that went,
Yeah.
global.
Yes.
And like I said, I like to reflect on, and you would notice there in the story there are different points I reflect on certain things that have to do with little children and girls, and and I was
Yeah.
just like, as a parent, I can't even imagine how traumatic that could be. And obviously, but not obviously, both my parents are, my husband's parents are in the army. He's his dad is in the army, my dad
Yeah,
is in
that
the
explains it
Navy.
then. Because I
Yeah.
was also going to find out like a lot of research must have been involved. Because even though it's fiction, right? You needed to
Yeah.
get your facts correct and
Oh yeah.
everything. So I'm like,
You won't even
how did
believe,
she
after
pull
I was
that
done
off?
writing, I still had to rewrite certain parts
Wow.
because
Wow.
and I'll go back to what I was saying. The military is so interesting. Like, even though you're like close or best friends, you can't
Mm-hmm.
really relate with the person, like,
Mm-hmm.
half a guy, that kind of thing. Even in rare cases, but I've noticed that it's a very hard thing to do for them because respect is drilled in. As long
Of
as you're
course.
my senior, I
Mm-hmm.
salute you. Even if we're hanging
Yeah.
out outside, I still show you
Yeah.
that respect. So I had to
Yeah.
change. I was like, really? I was just writing the story like, oh, this is, it's lovely and nice. They're like, yeah, you have two military parents, babe. Go and fact check your story and everything. So just from their perspective, and and just looking at obviously Nigeria, and just the way we should have been able to deal with a situation like this, that's kind of like I just thought, and obviously it was also an homage to them as well, in terms of what they also did for the country when they were serving. So I just thought, okay, why not? I love a good war story, and the best thing I can kind of, and a lot of people will be able to relate with, is the obviously the bring up back our girls campaign, because it's so recent and it's so local to the Chibok girls, and it's so local to us, you know, because of the kind of story. Like I said, I know the story I want to write, so it was more like, yes, this is how each character needs to be, and this is how I want it to end. So it's not a case of filling in the gaps, so it's so relatable.
Yeah, beautiful. Another thing that I appreciated about the fact that you added that element is because is that so everybody seems to have moved on. In fact, it almost seemed like something that happened in a faraway distance or a long time ago and all. So I love the fact that reading Bola Tito sort of like reminded me of the fact that those girls are still missing.
Yeah.
And a lot of us have moved on as if it never happened, and they still at one point they are unforgettable. It was sort of like a tribute to them as well, which I think is a beautiful and good thing for you to have done. As you can see, I'm having a good time. Pop my wine already, like, and you know.
I'm so excited. I haven't even eaten. That's just how. Yeah. I was like, oh, why am I nervous? Like before I came up, I was like, you'll be fine.
Yeah. I think at this point I want you to read like your favorite chapter of the book. Maybe like a few paragraphs or a few pages out of what particular chapter kind of like stood out for you. Let's have like everyone listen to you read an excerpt of the book. I think that would be like a beautiful thing to do. I hope you have a copy near you. Sadly, yes, I don't have. Oh, and the cover is so gorgeous. Like, it's really, really beautiful.
Thank you. Shout out to hopefully, Mary.
Yeah, Mary did such an amazing job with it. And hopefully by the time people get to read the story itself, they will tend to understand the message behind the cover.
Yes.
Yeah, so I won't even bother
to quickly touch on the cover. I remember when I thought about Bola Tito, and I was like, oh, maybe a woman. In fact, the name too went through changes. Initially, I was going to call it maybe ungrounded, you know, something that is like
something very deep.
Yeah, very deep. Then I was like, ungrounded. What is up with the grounded themes? So I was thinking, I wanted a woman like maybe emotion. Like I'm very like, I love when covers kind of evoke feelings in people. So I thought, okay, maybe a woman, emotion, dancing, just you've seen that. But I felt like a lot of people would have expected this. And I spent time praying, and that's when I decided, because the girl on the cover is Ifunaya actually. And when you read the story, like Toby was saying, there's a lot of things that you go back to the book and you think, oh, okay, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, so for me, working on the cover and getting this out there, I can't wait for people to read and then go back and reflect on what they are seeing. So so do you want me to?
Yes, please. I can't wait to hear you read an excerpt.
Sorry. Oh God. 1 second. I want to switch books. I picked up a sample.
All right. Guys, please do not hesitate to slide into our Roving Night DM, check out our website to order your own copy of Bola Tito. It's still selling at 4,500 naira for now, but from tomorrow it's going to be selling for 5,000 naira. So please take advantage of the opportunity and grab your copy ASAP. Trust me, you would love every bit of the story. Don't buy for yourself alone, no, please. Grab for people around you.
Exactly.
Buy for everyone around you. It's a perfect gift for women, for guys. I mean, you can see that it also has like a war element to it, which I think a lot of men would sort of relate with.
And even to speak to what you said about the war element, I spoke about how Azuka and his friend's story is a major, like I love the bromance, because with men, especially when they're going
Yeah,
through
Usman and Azuka, yeah.
Usman and Azbika, especially
Yeah,
when, and you would also get that I went for every culture in
yeah.
not every, but maybe my next book I'll explore other cultures. But I wanted to have at least the main tribes in the story, you know, and everything like that. So what is beautiful about their relationship is they both went through difficult. I mean, being in the military, you know, you have to. There's a lot of sacrifice, and I would speak to this because I know when I was younger, my dad would be away on a mission, and basically, it's the moms are the ones holding down the fortress. So, as a guy that's away from your family and loved one, how do you then deal with that process? And then you're, you know, in war, and really their friendship is something, and they're not even of the same faith, which is one thing that you say sometimes you think, okay, they need to be, but it was something deeper than you know, surface level things. It was just how they were able to support each other and be there for each other, and you know, and cry if you need to cry. Or not you, well, you won't see them crying, but someone that you know that you can actually bear something that would be a brother for you. And I think a lot of men are silent, and I'm hoping that when their wives read it, because usually these things, wives or women read it, they'll pick up a copy too, and they'll be like, yeah, I like those men I read about. I want to be a man like that. So yeah. So okay. So the part I'm going to read is actually what eventually led me to name this book Bola Tito.
Bola Tito.
Yes. So. Okay.
What chapter is that?
What?
What chapter is that?
So it's still in chapter 1, but I'm not reading the. It's from chapter 1. In fact, it's towards the ending of chapter 1.
Okay.
So it's where. Let me just read it so you know where.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway. Wow. Okay, so Rain, just please bear with me because I'm also now trying to get myself serious.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. Rain drummed on the roof of the children's ward as if it had a score to settle. The sound of the skies rumbling in the distance made Ifunanya wonder if that was what the belly of a hungry giant would sound like. Can you hear me?
Yes. What would you? I'm following actually.
Awesome. Gloom carpeted the skies, and there was a widespread chill in the hospital that was not only Gloom carpeted the sky, and there was a widespread chill in the hospital that was not only from the weather. There had been an emergency earlier that morning while the doctors and nurses were making their ward rounds. A doctor was listening to Ifunanya's heart with a stethoscope when a loud, "Help me, somebody help me, please," erupted from the other children's ward. Instantly, all the medical personnel within the hearing range bolted in the direction of the scream. There was, maybe I should stand. That would help me. Sorry, I just want to.
Okay.
I want to. The voiceover person in me is saying you're not projecting.
I know. I was just going to mention that too.
Okay. There was dread in the air, and everyone was on a high alert. You could hear the sound of feet shuffling quickly, and a gurney being wheeled away. The sound of a woman wailing followed and faded with the squeaking wheels. Everything happened so fast. 1 second, you couldn't hear beyond the ruckus, and the next second, the silence was so palpable, you could almost feel it hugging you. Ifunanya quietly prayed for whoever it was and hoped they got better. She decided to continue reading her novel since there was nothing else to do. About 10 minutes into her book, one of the nurses returned to her ward. She watched as the woman beside her looked up from her phone and stopped the nurse. "Sorry to bother you, but may I ask, what happened over there?" The nurse heaved a big sigh and replied, "It was a little boy. He had a surgery 2 days ago. He seemed to be recuperating fine until just now when he started seizing out of the blue." The woman gasped and clasped her hand over her mouth. "Is he okay? What happened to him?" She looked genuinely terrified. The nurse took a deep breath and shook her head. I wish he was. Before we could get him to the operating room, he gave up the ghost. So sad. All the color from the woman's face, all the color drained from the woman's face. She looked like she was going to pass out at any second. My God, she blurted as she fell backwards in her bed. The nurse walked away to continue her rounds. Ifunanya felt sick to her stomach. Her spine tingled from a shiver that ran through it. As if the moment wasn't airy enough, a bolt of lightning flashed. Ifunanya gasped as the room lit up and went dark again. She shivered a little more, abandoning the book she was reading and holding on tightly to her teddy bear. She felt her heart sink lower and lower till it couldn't sink any further. Life was so fickle and fleeting. She wondered how that mother must feel now that her son has left her forever. She felt the band-aid she had placed over her grief for years being ripped off. Memories of her mother's death rushed through her mind like the waters of a broken dam and pushed moisture through her eyes. She hadn't felt sad in a while, and she wished her father was here to hold her in his strong arms. A child like her was no more. She had been in and out of the hospital too many times to count, but she was still here. She curled into a ball. Her body shook and she sobbed. Her book abandoned beside her head was slowly getting drenched by the outpour of tears. Why was there so much sadness in the world? Why did people have to leave? Ifunanya felt someone sit on the edge of her bed. She didn't care to look up. Nobody should see her this way. A gentle hand wrapped around her upper arm and started running up and down reassuringly. Her tears flowed for a few more minutes before they started subsiding. Her shoulders were still quivering, but she felt better. She kept her face hidden while she wiped her tears. The hand lingered on her arm. She didn't want to raise her head, but when she did, she was taken aback by the person whose hand it was. It was her neighbor, the woman in the bed beside her. This woman barely spoke, unless her mother came to visit, and even then, she was so soft-spoken you could barely hear her. She was so soft-spoken you barely heard her distinctly, unless you paid extra attention. This is awkward, Ifunanya thought. The woman's hand dropped to her side shyly, as if suddenly aware of her surroundings. There were tears in her eyes like she had been crying too. She immediately looked away and moved to go back to her bed. Ifunanya grabbed her hand and smiled at her. Thank you, she said, and let go of her hand. It's no problem, love. There was a hint of sadness in her voice. My name is Ifunanya Inweze. Ifunanya was back to sounding like herself again, laughter woven into her clear words. What's yours? I'm Bola Tito Akindele. Everyone calls me Tito. Bola Tito, Ifunanya echoed. She seemed to be mulling it over in her head and rolling it around her tongue. She made sure to drown out every syllable. Bola Tito. Tito burst out laughing. She had never seen anybody become this fascinated by her name before. Ifunanya chuckled. I'm only making sure that I got it right. What does it mean, please? Actually, the full name is Biola Oluwatito. Her demeanor was instantly reflective. It translates to how great the wealth or goodness of God is. Her smile faltered, but she kept it up. Oh, wow, that's a really good name, said Ifunanya. Thank you. I don't know a lot of Igbo, but Ifunanya means love, right? Tito quizzed. She could feel her defenses falling away brick by brick. She felt lighter already. The lump in her throat had dissolved, and she started and she was starting to understand why everyone around them loved Ifunanya. They had barely talked for 5 minutes, and she was already feeling warm inside. She felt the need for a tight embrace from the girl, but she was scared she would break her in half. Yes, Ifunanya means love. The girl looked impressed. It could be shortened to Ifu. Okay, what's the name of this little guy? Or what's this little guy's name? Tito gesticulated to her teddy bear. Oh, this? It's a she. Her name is Catchy. Tito nodded. That's interesting. Tito and Ifunanya talked some more, and as they spoke, like a sign, the skies began to clear, and sun rays snuck in through the windows. They laughed about random things like the novel Ifunanya was reading and how hard the hospital beds felt. Tito was itching to ask Ifunanya about her family, but she decided it could wait. There was no need upsetting the girl with such questions. She was content with the conversation they were having at the moment. Hopefully, it will be the first of many more to come. Thank you.
That was so beautiful. Goodness. I couldn't help but open mine and read along with you. And like your voice just brought a lot of life to the story itself. And like you could, I wanted you to continue, like go on and on and on. But I mean, we don't have all the time in the world, definitely. So guys, like if you listen to that, then I don't know what else you would literally need to convince you to buy a copy of Bolatito because it is that good and more. And then there's just something about the story that just cudgels you. I don't know if it was just me alone that it had that effect on, but there's just something very warm about the story. And I can imagine you curling up in your bed or in a couch with a blanket and just read through this book. And it's something that you can actually finish in one sitting or max, even if you're a slow reader, within a day or two, you'll be done with it. And that excerpt is so heavy. It's full of deep, deep meanings. I mean, with the pandemic, with COVID-19 happening and what have you, it just makes you realize how short and fleeting life is, like the excerpt typically depicts. And I wanted to find out one thing from you. What key message do you want readers to leave with after reading Volatile? I think that's a very, very important question to ask because the book is layered with so many meanings. There are so many things you can take away from it and all that. But at the back of your mind, when you were penning down the story, of course, you mentioned that it's taken a while. The story had been brewing for such a long time. What key message did you want them to leave with?
I would say the key message is even found in Ifunaya's name, love. Yeah. So with their relationships, you see different kinds of love show. Love that is pure, love that is, is redemptive, love that doesn't need a reason why to exist. And I think with everything that is going on in the world right now, we need to see a lot more of people showing love. If you love your neighbor, you would look out for him, you would do right by him. And I mean, yes, romantic love is great, which I mean, most people would think, okay, maybe it would have been nice to, because you might start the story and think, okay, I'm sure this is how it will end, but it would, trust me, it won't end the way you think it will end. But I think one of the things that is just layered, every part of it is just, love. How can you love someone else, like yourself, and how can you be there for people? How the way it can heal. And I mean, there's something I put there about the heart of the child, because I'm hoping 3 things can happen. One, you learn about love, and it opens up your heart as a reader, to be able to show love in different ways possible. Healing is crucial because life, like you said, life is fleeting, and they're just things that we can't explain. And now a spoiler for most people that have not read it will now know that on this life we know Ifunaya's mom died. So how a little girl deals with that, that process. Death is a painful thing, but then it's also the hope that, you can live on, you know, you can still be everything and more, whoever it was that was connected to you hoped for or would have prayed for to see. So I said love, and what's the second one? Sorry, I'm really emotional. Hope, obviously, in terms of finding hope. I'm just hoping that people can reflect on their own lives and just see that, whatever they are going through it can lead to something beautiful. You can make lemons out or lemonade out of whatever life throws your way,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
life will bring whatever it can, and it's just what you make of it. And you find that because you chose to do something with your life and with your story.
Yeah.
I mean, Tito, for example, in her story could have stayed in whatever misery. She could have stayed broken, because you watch the trailer, you say a broken woman, but she finds wholeness through certain actions and things she allowed herself to do, and she found healing. Yes, thank you, Junie. So
Yeah.
love, healing, and hope. So yes.
Wow, those are very strong themes, I must say, and it's such what can get enough of that, right? Currently, we definitely need a lot of love, a lot of hope, and healing during these
Mm-hmm.
times. And so, for those primary reasons, I think people should actually grab copies of Bolasito and read.
I copy, read,
Um,
share with your friends.
yeah, please share with your friends too. I feel like it would be a very beautiful book for a bunch of people, either in a book club or a bunch of friends to read together and sort of like discuss over some wine or juice for those who like juice. Okay, so with How Time Flies When You're Having Fun, it's past 1 hour already since we
I
started this.
know, I
But
know.
before you go, I have some trivial questions for you.
Oh, okay, great.
And I actually want us to have some fun while doing this. So I'm going to be providing two options,
Okay.
and you have to pick one of each. The whole idea behind it is to allow people a window into your persona, like people to get to know you more and everything. So the first one is, while writing, which do you prefer? A room full of music, a room full of quietness?
Music.
Oh, nice.
Yes. I love
That's
I love the
interesting.
noise. Music is great. Like, I just headphones and blast. That's my go
Oh,
writing. Yeah.
that's your go-to.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's like new, because I mean I was listening to Chimamanda's interview recently with Ebuka, and all she had to say was like, "Oh God, like she feels this noise is distracting, so she wants quietness." I know. Well, different strokes for different folks, I guess.
Because
Between
funny,
spoke,
like, sorry, before, can I
yeah,
just elaborate on that? Because
yeah,
I'm I guess I'm a very chaotic person in the sense of the way my mind thinks. Like,
mm,
sometimes I'm walking around General Hospital and I'm listening to music and I'm thinking, because I have, like, apart from Bola Tito, I have like maybe four other stories that I can't wait to write. And sometimes it's just that story. And the more I'm walking and listening to music, the
mm,
story is developing. So, and then I'm jotting down on my, like,
yeah,
notepad and stuff like that. So, but
yeah,
obviously it depends on mood. But for me, music goes a long way. It
yeah,
inspires me. YouTube has
yeah.
inspirational music when writing.
Oh, a lot of them, trust me.
Mhm.
Um, I was going to ask something about, the a part of the writing process, which I think you already answered. Like, I'm sure a part of it entails you actually spending a number of time in the hospital in
Mhm.
wards, because a huge part of the story actually was that within
Happening.
the
Well, for me,
yeah, in the
I
hospital
have
ward
doctor
and all.
friends, so, and
Okay,
it
so
was during the pandemic, so, and then what was weird, because I didn't mention it earlier. Part of the things I did to deal with the bleeding, because they eventually found out that it was something called a polyp, which kind of grows in women's. It's triggered by hormones. So
mhm.
I went to the ward twice. In fact, I was put under anesthesia twice because I had to get it out, do the operation again. So the first time I went there, I was looking around, and it was such a weird thought. I took pictures, so I actually have pictures of me, the girl, and I took pictures, and I was just thinking, okay, I can see a big clock over there. It was like I was trying to soak in as much as I can, and this was even a women's hospital here. And then anything else that I didn't, I'll just ask a friend. So, just in life, life is a learning place. So just taking all you can from the environments that you can take in and put it.
Yeah, and of course, where there is a will, there's always a way. Definitely. Yeah. Okay, back to my trivial. Between poetry and spoken word, which is your best?
Spoken word.
Okay, that's like so obvious. Yeah. Ebook or hard copy book?
Hard copy. I love to smell it. I love smelling books. I was just like the first thing I did when I got my book, I was like, does it have the book smell?
Of course. A lot of people think we are freaks, right? Or we are so traditional, or
I know it took me a while.
Not of this world, but well, I'm unapologetic.
Yeah. The next is audiobook. So book, hard copy, audiobook, then ebook.
Cool stuff. An obvious question though: fiction or non-fiction?
Non-fiction. Oh, what am I saying? Fiction. What am I saying? Non-fiction.
Oh, I was gonna be like, really?
You always taking it back, like, huh?
Like, where did that come from?
Well, I think my husband is rubbing on me. He's like,
of course, most men are like non-fiction. We have to. They're so serious about life and everything. But the funny thing is about fiction is that there are so many lessons embedded in non-fiction that you kind of like can glean through from fictional works and all, which is one of the beautiful things about your book. Imagine you could have decided to tell your own personal life story, and it's just so straightforward and all. But being fiction allows room for a lot of creativity and allow you to infuse different issues that make the story linger in the minds of people longer. Yeah. So fiction is it. The second to the last one, wine or coffee with book, which would you go with?
None, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and why I say none, I mean, I love me some nice red wine, and I like mixing things. I make my own cocktail, but with PCOS,
yeah, I can't relate.
Even coffee, so that's why I'm
Again. Well, of course, one way or indirectly, we kind of got the answer, Sha.
Yeah.
So my final trivial. What are you currently reading? Yes.
My book.
Aside from your book, please.
So
I mean, also Bible.
Literally, my book has been, but I've downloaded a couple which are actually non-fiction. They're non-fiction. I am looking into growth hacking because now I need to sell. It's make some sales.
Oh, yeah.
Growth hacking, and then I got a book, I think from you, funny enough, from you guys, from Irving Heights, I think Master of One. Yeah, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I want to bring in a bit more focus in my life. But yeah, so growth hacking for people that, it's a marketing tactic. And
of course, yeah. That's a good one. And it's super, super exciting hearing from you, connecting with you. You're such a sweet person. Gosh, I could go on and on. If I don't gas you, who will? But honestly speaking, I feel this was actually so much fun. I had a good time.
Yeah,
I hope it's not the wine talking though, but everyone who sort of like joined from start to finish should agree with me that this was really so much fun. And it's almost making me feel like, oh, well, maybe it's a good thing to do this more often after like the long break and all of that. So on that note, we're going to be saying our goodbyes. Yeah, a lot of messages from people. Congratulations on your new launch. Well done, Seyi from Essence of Toy. Oni has to pronounce the full title of the book, Oluwati So Beautiful. And then there's Bala Writers. Yeah, I remember a question. She said something about a quote from your book while you were reading. Rain beating as though it had this score to settle.
Mm-hmm.
That line actually hits different. So while I was reading it, that she said, "Love that line." Thank you so much
Thank you
for
so
that.
much.
From Ninja Fit Foodie, congratulations, Sheyi.
Hi.
And
She's also a fellow PCOS warrior.
oh yeah, that
Amazing
is
story. Her story is amazing.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, wow. And so like you have like a full army of soldiers behind you from the PCOS conquerors community, and that's such a beautiful thing. Bala Writer said, yes, how do we get copies of the books if we are outside of Nigeria? Robin Hood actually delivers
Mm-hmm.
to different parts out of the world outside of Nigeria. We deliver. However, of course, the cost of shipping might just be a bit on the high side.
Yeah.
But if you don't mind, you can always go for it. And I think the book is also going to be available on
So it's going to
Amazon.
be on Amazon. So I
All
mean,
right.
it's either
So
you
you can
print
always
it
place
out
an
next.
order on
Yeah.
Amazon as well. So
Mm-hmm.
please. And then if you want the ebook, I think a few other platforms are also going to be
So all the
having
other
it. So,
platforms will be available from next week. But in
all
terms of
right.
hard copy, it's
Yeah.
from Rovering Heights for now.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
just follow my page if you want to know whatever works for
Yeah.
you, platform or medium works for you.
Yeah.
No.
Awesome. Then maybe add thank you, Sheyi, to say about your beautiful, beautiful compliment. Someone was like, gorgeous girl, go Shay Shay. Uh, Bala Writer has also said that she's
I
quite
got
passionate.
dressed for you, as in my makeup, everything. I'm like I'm
I
here.
know.
Backdrop.
Bala Writer says she's also quite passionate about telling African stories too, which is very good. Youthsis is asking how much the book is and when it will be available everywhere. But that's it. So pre-order prices 4,500, but from tomorrow it's gonna be for 5,000 naira. So we advise you just slide into Roving IDM or go on our website to grab a copy now before we change our mind. And and of course it's going to be available
When
at
Netflix
every
calls, I might like, oh guys, sorry,
of course, I'm
it's
waiting
not.
for that. We can't wait, honestly. um, and then it's going to be available at reputable stores and every platform where books are sold. We could go on and on and on, but this has been really
It's
exciting
been
and
fun.
engaging. And
Thank you.
how do we get the book in hard copy, please? This is Tessie Adeda. You can slide into Ruby Knight's DM or go on our website and grab a copy, and we would deliver a hard copy to your doorstep. So I hope that answers your question. Toyin Allah says that she is so proud of you. Okay, we could go on and on. Like
My
we
boo
have
boo.
so we could go on and on, but we have to go. It's been really, really beautiful
Sorry,
doing
my
this with
mom is
you.
here. That's Olivia.
Oh, oh
Mommy.
wow. Thank you so
I
much,
like you on
Ma,
Instagram.
for the amazing gift of Seyi Amao. It's so good to have you here. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Bala Writers, for your kind words about Ruby Night as well. It's been great doing this.
Yes, you guys are
Um,
amazing.
yeah,
Let me, I know we
thank
want to
you.
sign out, but you're amazing. Thank you so much for supporting the African story. Because, I mean, not every platform, most people want to know, okay, who's publishing you? Who are you?
Of
Da, da.
course, of
But
course.
I love how supported I've been by your company through this process. And if you're thinking to write and looking for people to partner with on your journey, then hit up Roving Heights. Definitely. And
Yeah,
you pay me to say
yay.
this, so it's just how I feel.
Wow.
It's just
Thank you
how I
so
feel.
much for
Thank
that. Thank
you.
you so much. This has been so much fun, guys. Thank you for joining us. It's been beautiful having this. So you will wish you all the very best
Thank you.
on this new phase, on this new journey. Wish you every good thing, best-selling list, sold out gang.
Amen.
We can go on and on and on. And I hope this actually most importantly touches the lives of many people
Yes,
and
definitely.
transform them as well, because I mean I feel at the core of every bit of this
Hmm.
that is also very, very crucial.
Hmm.
All right, guys, on that
All
note,
right,
we're going to be
guys.
signing out. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the
Bye.
rest of your Sunday, guys, and thank you once again for your time, Shay.
Love you. Bye bye. Take
Yeah,
care,
bye
everyone.
everybody. Bye.